America first. So, picture this. Donald Trump rolls into the White House like a reality TV star who just bought the network. His opening line, America first, baby. It's like your buddy who suddenly gets super into themselves and starts saying things like, my coffee first. My parking spot first. My tax break definitely first. And speaking of tax breaks, they were huge for businesses. Some folks were throwing confetti, thinking it'd rain jobs and prosperity. Others were side-eyeing the whole thing, like, wait a minute, is this economic trickle-down or just a fancy way of saying the rich get richer? Then came the trade wars. Folks, think of it as a high-stakes poker game with countries throwing tariffs around like chips. China, Canada, even our longtime pals in Europe were like, whoa, dude, what's the beef? The idea was to bring back that good old American manufacturing mojo, but guess what? Your favorite imported gizmos and even that precious morning caffeine might have seen a little price bump. It was like a high-stakes game of economic chicken. Who would blink first? Was it a genius move to make America great again, or a risky roll of the dice that left consumers holding the bag? Trump versus the media. Alright, folks, get ready for the main event. In this corner, weighing in with a constant barrage of tweets, it's Donald the Disruptor Trump. And in the other corner, the titans of the news world, CNN, the New York Times, and the whole gang. It was a daily smackdown, a verbal wrestling match with headlines as the championship belt. Trump would unleash his signature move, labeling anything he didn't like as fake news. Complete with dramatic air quotes, probably. The media, not ones to back down from a fight, would counter with their investigations and reports, digging deep into the Trump administration. It was a constant clash of narratives, a battle for your eyeballs and your trust. Did this keep the media honest and on their toes, or did it just create a giant echo chamber where everyone retreated to their preferred version of reality? It was a wild ride through the information superhighway, with more twists and turns than a roller coaster. Whose side were you on? Meeting Kim Jong Un. Okay, grab your snacks and settle in, because this was a plot twist worthy of a Korean drama. President Trump, the guy who wasn't afraid to trade barbs with anyone, decided to sit down face-to-face with Kim Jong Un, the leader of North Korea. Seriously, who had this on their 2018 bingo card? It was like seeing your two most stubborn friends who've been in a years-long feud suddenly decide to grab coffee. The Singapore summit in 2018 was a spectacle, handshakes, smiles, and even talk of denuclearization. The world held its breath, wondering if this was the dawn of a new era of peace on the Korean peninsula. But subsequent meetings, like the one in Hanoi, didn't yield the breakthrough many had hoped for. Skepticism lingered, with many wondering if it was all just for show. Was this bold diplomacy a genuine attempt at peace, or more of a made-for-TV spectacle? The suspense is still real. Syria withdrawal. Just when you thought you had a handle on things, bam! President Trump throws a curveball that leaves everyone scratching their heads. The decision to pull U.S. troops out of Syria was one of those moments. Supporters cheered, saying it was time to bring our heroes home and stop getting bogged down in overseas conflicts. America first, right, but hold on a minute. Critics were sounding the alarm. They worried about leaving a power vacuum that could allow extremist groups like ISIS to regroup and wreak havoc. Allies on the ground, particularly the Kurdish forces who had fought alongside the U.S., felt like they'd been left in the lurch. The geopolitical chessboard definitely got a whole lot more complicated that day. The Mexico border wall, remember those campaign rallies? The roar of the crowd chanting "Build that wall" was practically deafening. President Trump made it a cornerstone of his platform, a physical barrier along the U.S.-Mexico border to stop illegal immigration. It was like a home improvement project on a massive, international scale. But building a wall that big, turns out it's not as easy as it sounds. Funding battles, environmental concerns, and even just figuring out who owns the land all became major hurdles. While some sections of the wall were built during his presidency, the big, beautiful wall remained a symbol of intense debate. Was it a necessary security measure or a divisive and ultimately ineffective project? The Access Hollywood tape. Alright, let's talk about the moment that made everyone's jaw drop. The Access Hollywood tape. During the 2016 campaign, this old recording surfaced, and let's just say President Trump's comments about women were less than presidential. It was like a scene straight out of a movie where the hero suddenly reveals a not-so-heroic past. The fallout was immediate and intense. People were shocked, outraged, and many called for him to step down. That moment truly tested the resilience of the campaign, sparking a national conversation about respect, accountability, and acceptable language from someone seeking the highest office. Impeachment times 2. Alright, hold on to your hats, folks, because President Trump didn't just get impeached once, he went for the double. The first time was in 2019, accused of abusing his power and obstructing Congress. Think of it as a political whodunit with international intrigue. The House voted to impeach, but the Senate trial resulted in an acquittal. Fast forward to 2021, and the Capitol was under attack. Following the events of January 6th, the House impeached President Trump again, this time for incitement of insurrection. Another Senate trial followed, and again, he was acquitted. 2 impeachments, a feat unmatched in U.S. history. What were your thoughts as these high-stakes dramas unfolded? Twitter takeover. Forget the nightly news. For President Trump, Twitter was his official podium, his direct line to the world. It was like he had the world's biggest megaphone and wasn't afraid to use it, day or night. Policy announcements, endorsements, and yes, some pretty fiery critiques all landed on the Twitterverse. It was a communication revolution, for better or for worse. But after the Capitol attack, Twitter decided to pull the plug, permanently suspending his account. It sparked a massive debate about free speech, the power of social media companies, and whether platforms should have the authority to silence a sitting or former president. It was a digital mic drop heard around the world. COVID-19 coverage. When the COVID-19 pandemic swept across the globe, the spotlight turned to how leaders were handling the crisis. President Trump's approach became a major point of contention. From downplaying the virus's severity to promoting unproven treatments and even suggesting it might just disappear, his statements often contradicted the advice of public health experts. It was like watching a disaster movie unfold in real time, with conflicting information and a lot of uncertainty. G7 at the golf club. Here's a head-scratcher for you. There was a proposal to host the G7 summit, a gathering of world leaders, at one of President Trump's own golf resorts. Critics immediately cried foul, raising concerns about potential conflicts of interest and whether it was appropriate for a leader to potentially profit from such a high-profile international event. The optics weren't exactly great, and ultimately, the plan was scrapped. Internal enemies. President Trump had a very clear idea of what he expected from his fellow Republicans: unwavering loyalty. If you dared to voice even a hint of disagreement, you might find yourself on the receiving end of a public dressing down, often via Twitter. This approach definitely ruffled some feathers within the party and led to discussions about the importance of independent thought versus party unity. It was like a reality show where loyalty challenges were a weekly occurrence. The third-term tease. Let's start on a bit of a playful note. The U.S. Constitution is pretty clear, 2 terms, and that's it for a president. But the idea of a third term for President Trump would occasionally pop up, often with a wink and a nod from him and some of his most ardent supporters. Was it a serious suggestion? Probably not. But it definitely kept people talking and added another layer of the unexpected to the whole Trump experience. So there you have it, folks. Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with anyone who needs a good dose of political intrigue.